Really think about this for a second. Why do we know exactly what to do, yet we still fail to actually do it? It's incredibly frustrating, right? I mean, you've got the plan, you've read the books, you know the exact steps you need to take to improve your health, your career, your relationships, and yet the execution just kind of stalls out. Trust me, you are definitely not alone in feeling this way. Okay, let's dive right into this. The experts over at Lifehack call this the knowing doing gap. See, our failure to take action, it's not because of a lack of knowledge. You already have all the information you need. The real problem is that we're relying on fleeting inspiration to get us moving. We sit around waiting to feel like doing the work, rather than building what they call a disciplined loop to make that action actually stick. And to put into perspective just how dangerous it is to rely on motivation, look at this staggering survey data from Forbes. Think about New Year's resolutions. The gyms are completely packed in January, but by March, 53% of people have already given up. And get this, only a tiny, literally 1% actually make it 12 months. Motivation is a fantastic spark, sure, but it is an absolutely terrible engine for long-term change. So why does motivation fail us so spectacularly? Well, because it's inherently weak the moment it hits reality. Motivation just vanishes the exact second progress feels slow. It completely evaporates when your daily life becomes this repetitive, monotonous autopilot cycle. When the novelty wears off and you're just going through the motions, that emotional high completely disappears. And suddenly the urge to just throw in the towel looks incredibly appealing. And to make matters worse, we completely sabotage ourselves mentally. The folks at Zen Habits share this really wonderful little story about a young man who constantly feels like he's failing. Why? Because he creates a timeline for his goals based on this imagined, magical future where everything goes perfectly. But let's be real, life is messy. So when his actual, chaotic life inevitably fails to match up with this perfect fantasy timeline, he instantly feels like he's falling behind. This whole illusion of being behind just creates this constant heavy pressure. We're rushing through our days trying to catch up to a fantasy which, let's face it, only leads straight to burnout. Think about your own autopilot moments for a second. How much unnecessary pressure are you putting on yourself right now to catch up? Zen Habits asks a really profound question here. What would you do if the concept of being behind simply didn't exist? So, if we let go of that pressure and we finally ditch this myth of motivation, what do we actually replace it with? We replace it with the unglamorous but highly effective reality of discipline. Motivation demands these massive bursts of action fueled by fleeting emotion. Discipline, on the other hand, prioritizes consistency over intensity. It's all about building what we call calm follow-through. Now, the absolutely crucial point here is that true discipline isn't about creating this flawless, color-coded day where your perfectly prepped meals just magically materialize. That is magical thinking. True discipline is about building a foundation of calm follow-through that actually withstands the chaos of real life. It's having a baseline routine that holds up even on the days you are tired, stressed, or just entirely unmotivated. I absolutely love this insight from the Mark and Angel blog. They say, you can't lift 1,000 pounds all at once, yet you can easily lift 1 pound 1,000 times. This completely shifts how we look at things, doesn't it? Lasting success is not the result of exhausting, one-time bursts of superhuman willpower. No, it's the result of little, repeated efforts over time. And this brings us perfectly to the concept of micro steps. This is a strategy heavily championed by Thrive Global. Micro steps are these small, almost ridiculously achievable daily changes. The goal is to lower the barrier to entry so much that you literally can't say no. By keeping the steps tiny, you achieve lasting behavior modification without draining your precious mental energy. Because, spoiler alert, discipline doesn't actually have to be punishing. Thrive Global points out 5 foundational areas where these micro steps have the absolute biggest impact: food, movement, sleep, stress management, and connection. And here's the magic. By implementing tiny microsteps in just one of these areas, say drinking 1 extra glass of water, walking for just 5 minutes, or going to bed 15 minutes earlier, you can dramatically change the trajectory of your health and productivity. Understanding the mechanics of our brains here is super important. Willpower is a finite resource. Think of it like a battery that drains every single time you have to make a hard choice. That is exactly why we have to rely on systems instead of our energy levels. When you build reliable systems, you basically eliminate the need to use willpower at all. You just follow the system and you move efficiently through your day. So Lifehack outlines exactly how to build this kind of support loop. Step 1, start with just one life system. Seriously, don't try to fix your whole life overnight. Step 2, build a daily rhythm that fits your actual day, not some fantasy version of your day. And step 3, ensure this holds completely, like it becomes second nature before you even think about adding the next one. This is how you make your progress bulletproof. Of course, taking this kind of disciplined action requires a massive mindset shift. We really have to change how we process our feelings. The sources emphasize that we've got to learn to prioritize the absolute truth of our goals and our core values over whatever our current emotional state happens to be. Because look, if you only ever act when you feel like it, your circumstances are going to dictate your entire life. So when life feels totally chaotic and you're being pulled in a dozen different directions, how do you stay grounded? Well, you set intentions based on your values. This is such a simple yet profound tool for daily empowerment. If you act on your core values, instead of just sitting around waiting for circumstances to magically improve, you immediately restore a sense of direction and purpose to your day. To really anchor this idea, consider this brilliant insight from Simon Sinek. He says, working hard for something we don't care about is called stress. Working hard for something we love is called passion. I mean, wow. When you align your daily systemized discipline with your deeper values, you completely reframe the whole experience. What used to feel like a stressful, exhausting grind, it suddenly transforms into genuine passion. High-performance contexts demand that we make a pretty stark choice between truth and feelings. Are you going to honor the truth of what is required to get the result you want, or are you going to coddle your feelings and wait for inspiration to strike? High performers don't just ignore their feelings, but they absolutely refuse to let those feelings steer the ship. They do what's required system by system. And practicing this, it builds your mental toughness over time. Discipline isn't just about ticking boxes and getting things done. It is literally training in the uncertainty of hard tasks. When you force yourself to follow your systems, even when it's super uncomfortable, you are actively building the resilience you're going to desperately need on those days when motivation is 100% absent. As the Mark and Angel blog notes, we all have a choice here. We can revolt against reality, we can complain about the discomfort and how messy life is, or we can choose to cope with reality step by step. By embracing the discomfort rather than fighting it and using your discipline loops to just keep pushing forward, you take actual control. And that is how you change the trajectory of your life. This entire concept is perfectly anchored in ancient Stoic wisdom. The Daily Stoic highlights this incredible thought from the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius. To be like the rock that the waves keep crashing over. It stands unmoved and the raging of the sea falls still around it. That's the ultimate goal here, isn't it? A calm, unshakable discipline that stands firm no matter how chaotic the day gets. So, the question I want to leave you with today is simply this. Are you going to keep waiting for the right feeling before you take action? Or will you choose to build a system of calm follow-through starting right now? The motivation myth is officially busted. Your real power lies in your systems, your micro steps, and your discipline.